Hey, and welcome back to Makery by Mooney. This is a follow up on a short I uploaded recently about a strawberry watermelon wine that my wife really liked, and we need to take that off of heat. Um, the dilemma with like grocery store juice blends is for some reason typically they contain a preservative, which is going to make it almost impossible to make it into a wine to ferment it. But just this brand, for some reason, does not. So the first batch I made, she really liked a lot, and so I'm going to keep making it. As I've said before, I've been brewing long enough that I don't really directly measure a lot of things. I don't directly measure pH. Most of the time, I don't directly measure OG or FG. And I just kind of go by feel. And I'm not advocating that necessarily or recommending that. If this is your first time doing it, you could get yourself into trouble and have like a bottle bomb happen. You thought your fermentation was finished, so you put it in a completely closed, sealed bottle that was not designed to withstand carbonation, and you have it explode, or you end up with an acetobacter infection or worse. But I've not had a problem with any of that in a long time. So I'm doing this in like the low-tech way that I'm doing it, because I've been doing it long enough that I can pretty well go by feel. I got this way overheated while I was trying to get the camera set up. So if it's above blood temperature, it's hot enough to kill the yeast. So we're gonna stir it for a little while. Find an acceptable utensil here. As you stir it, it's gonna kind of help to let some of that steam out and get rid of some of that heat. Another thing that's going to help is to grab our fermentable sugars, which as usual is in the form of white table sugar, and that's going to kind of get rid of some of that heat. Going for about 1.5 cups of sugar here. We may not put that whole thing in. I like a product that is, for the most part, mostly dry, with maybe just barely some sweetness, and you don't want to overshoot your yeast species alcohol tolerance. Like I said, I don't get real elite about it. Usually I use Weissman's active dry yeast, and at the very most, that's going to top out in the best most optimal situation at about 13% ABV. So we're probably not going to put that whole thing in there. Stop right there. Just going to cool it off a little bit. Again, in regard to me, it seems like I'm completely dismissing sanitization. I guess in most respects I am. But at the same time, it's not like any of this stuff was filthy dirty, had like really dirt sticking. I mean, I had washed all of this stuff with your common dish detergent and all of that. It didn't have any dirt or detritus sticking to it. I just don't go to the lengths that most home brewers do because I don't commonly have infections. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. So, especially if there's any of you watching that that this is your first time doing this, I would follow all the rules to the T. Check your pH, check your OG, check your FG, check, use what most people use is Star San. That's a brand name of sanitizer that is used pretty well exclusively for home brewing. Do all of that. But I've been doing this since 2010. So I know the circumstances of what I'm working with. I can pretty well go by Phil. And some people would balk at that, but I don't. My wife drinks the wine that I make all the time. She's never been sick by it. So I don't think that I really have a problem with it. Stir this some more, try to get rid of some more of this heat. I wish I really hadn't had a problem getting the camera positioned, or else I would not have allowed this to get so heated up. And as I've said on previous videos, what I mean by blood temperature, if you're not directly measuring temperature, blood temperature is kind of that threshold where you can still put your fingers into the medium and it not be uncomfortable. If you can still put your fingers in there and be like, that's kind of hot, that's going to kill your yeast. I used to be really meticulous about all this stuff. I racked a lot and checked pH a lot and checked OG and FG a lot. But as I got, did it more and more, just it's kind of like riding. That's a bad analogy. I was getting ready to say like riding a bicycle, but that's not the best analogy. It comes like second nature. You do it pretty well a lot by feel. Okay, we're getting pretty close there to a temperature where you could pitch your yeast and be safe about it. Sorry about the tediousness of this. It's certainly not ideal. And my hands are clean as well. Not sanitized, but clean. I hope to have a lot better editing in these videos as we go along. We're going to go ahead and pitch that yeast. approximately equal to a tablespoon. So we will go ahead, big tug off of that. So we're looking at about like maybe 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. That's going to be a little bit more than your standard like blister packet of yeast. See, we're just kind of starting to try to establish a colony there. What I was doing with the spoon was there's some kind of schmutz falling in there from somewhere. Just trying to get that out of there to prevent any kind of untoward results. But one thing I've been doing on these videos while I'm waiting for kind of the yeast to get acclimated to their new situation, to their new environment, and wait for the colony to get established so I can get it bottled and get it aerated and get it put into the area where I keep my fermenting containers until they're finished. Is reading an excerpt from a book my wife bought me for my birthday called Brew Like a Yeti. Because I'm not only a fan of brewing culture but of Bigfoot culture. Is this I don't know why the guy wrote it. I'm happy he wrote it because I enjoy reading it. But those are two kind of diverse subjects. I don't know how they got put together, but I enjoy them. So I'm going to read a few excerpts from that. As you can see here, we're not doing too bad. That colony's already grown pretty well from what we had it. So I'll put you back in the camera holder here. Go get that book. Alrighty. There's a book. It was written by Jeremy Zimmerman. It's a good read. I would recommend that you purchase it. There's no way around it. Brewers use a lot of water. Water not only goes into the beer itself, but also used for brewing the wort. pulling the hot work, cleaning, rinsing, and more cleaning, and more rinsing. And let's not forget the water that is lost, whether it's trapped in spent grains, evaporated during the boil, or left behind in the equipment. Most brewers estimate the cleaning constitutes anywhere from 75 to 90% of brewing. Wow. So when we consider the water cycle, we need to include both the natural water cycle and the cycle once people take over. Water begins its cycle in the skies above us when pure H2O in the form of vapor in the clouds condenses to form water droplets and falls from the sky as rain or snow. As it falls, it gathers various substances from the atmosphere before landing on the earth, where it either evaporates or soaks into the ground, watering plants and becoming groundwater. In the ground, water picks up more substances, from organic matter and various minerals to herbicides and pesticides. Most organic materials and contaminants are filtered out as the water soaks deeper into the earth, while minerals continue to accumulate over time. Groundwater then resides in aquifers for hundreds, even thousands of years. If not brought to the surface manually by people, it eventually seeps up through wells, springs, rivers, and streams, becoming surface water. At any point, this water can evaporate into the atmosphere and start the cycle anew. So what does this mean for the brewer or brewster? Each phase of the water cycle changes water's levels of pH, sediment, dissolved minerals, and so forth. Environmental conditions and human activity also have varying degrees of impact on water quality. Water for brewing and drinking has traditionally come from surface and groundwater sources. In the past, boiling was the primary method to ensure water was as clean as possible. It was subsequently, but not always, brewed it into beer. Today, municipalities in the United States and other countries are required to treat water for contaminants before distributing it. This doesn't necessarily mean it's ready for drinking right out of the tap. Often it's not appropriate for brewing or other types of fermentation without additional treatments. This is why it is important to obtain a water report from your municipality and learn how to read it. Although water treatment processes vary somewhat by municipality, there are certain steps required by law. Generally, it works as follows, with the order varying depending on the municipality and the types of contaminants identified. Water is filtered through screens to remove debris. Activated carbon is used to remove organic taste and odor compounds. The water is aerated, ozonated to oxidize soluble forms of iron or manganese into their insoluble forms so they can be filtered out. And overly hard water is softened with lime. We're going to check at how our yeast is acclimated, and we'll read more excerpts from that on the next brew day. All right. Doing pretty well there. As Brian and Derica from Seastead Brewing call it, we got an excellent foam dome there. Okay. We're going to get some of the yeast kind of disturbed here so that it's not going to be so difficult when we rack it into the fermenting container. Low tech as usual. I pretty well just funnel it back into the container that the juice came in. As far as I'm concerned, if you know what you're doing, there's no point in being fancy about it. So we're just going to put it back into the bottle that the juice came in. We have our cleaned, I know it said sanitized, we have our cleaned funnel here. Pour that into our fermenting container. It's probably not all going to fit into the original juice bottle. We'll likely have to get a secondary bottle. So basically we're not wasting any must. That's the unfermented wine. Already, with the combination between the strawberry, the watermelon, and the yeast, you're getting like a really tangy zing, and it's 1,000 times better once it's completely fermented out. I can understand why my wife likes this wine so much. Again, we're gonna just aerate the holy crap out of this. Shake it real well. Getting oxygen into the solution initially is important to getting the yeast colony built up so they can grow and thrive. We'll see if we can find a different container to finish this out. We'll use this cleaned apple juice bottle here. do likewise in aerating this bottle. You might ask, why did I not fill that up to the very top? In primary fermentation, like when you've just recently started this brew and put it into the container you're going to ferment it in and start it into fermentation, primary fermentation, you want a certain amount of headroom, or else this is going to get real foamy in the next 24 hours and past that. And if you have it filled all the way up, you're likely to have this basically flow over. So that's the point of having a different container that's only a quarter of the way full. Alrighty. You can make brewing as difficult as you want to make it, and then you can make it as simple as you want to make it. I'm going to put these away, forget about them. I'm going to monitor them, but other than that, forget about them. In the area where I keep all my brews. And probably the amount of fermentable sugar we put in there, it's gonna be, the better part of 2 weeks before it's finished, I imagine. So we will give you an update at that point. Thanks for watching Makery by Mooney, and please subscribe.